My life was once filled with comfort and certainty. Andrew and I had a home we loved, stable careers we enjoyed, and the steadfast devotion of a long-term couple who had weathered life's ups and downs side by side. That enduring bond made me believe we could conquer anything as long as we faced it together, which is why when the early signs appeared, I convinced myself they didn't matter. I told myself the small memory lapses and distracted air were normal for a man Andrew's age dealing with a stressful job. I even made lighthearted jokes to set him at ease when he mixed up appointments or forgot important paperwork. But the day he forgot our anniversary, my soft denials hardened into dread. Andrew had never forgotten in 15 years of marriage. As I stared searchingly into his eyes over our uneaten anniversary dinner, I knew something was terribly wrong. The blank look of confusion cut me like a knife. In that moment, all my naive attempts at rational explanations evaporated. I broke the deafening silence, my falsely bright voice echoing in the room. "Andrew, I know you. This isn't just stress or age. Something is going on that you're not telling me about." I saw the answer in his averted eyes before the denial left his lips. Reaching across the table, I squeezed his hand with desperate strength. "Please, no more hiding. We said we would face everything side by side. Remember?" At last, Andrew met my gaze, resignation carved into his features. "Okay, Elle, you win. I've been struggling and I can't keep glossing it over. Will you go with me to the doctor? I think..." His face spasmed in naked fear. "I think I need help." The word dementia sledgehammered my naive hopes into 1,000 jagged pieces. Sitting stunned in the neurologist's office, her voice faded away as I watched Andrew's hands shaking uncontrollably. He looked small and afraid under her clinical gaze as she discussed scans and early onset. I listened numbly to Dr. Ray's explanations of how uncommon dementia was in men so young, while Andrew avoided my eyes. It was unthinkable, unfair. We were supposed to have decades left. I lingered behind Dr. Ray's pitying glance to squeeze Andrew's shoulder in solidarity. As long as we faced this enemy together, I could be strong enough for both of us. I never imagined how far that strength would ultimately need to carry me into the lonely unknown. How one word could upend the life we built in a single stunning blow. The world I knew had evaporated in an instant, but I swore I would find a way back to the man I loved, no matter what it took. In the months following Andrew's diagnosis, I immersed myself in understanding everything about dementia, desperately hoping to make sense of our unraveling world. I pored over medical journals, joined support groups, and sought out specialists across the country. If I could understand what was happening, I told myself, perhaps I could single-handedly stop its sinister progress. But while I chased elusive answers, Andrew's condition only worsened. The once keen accountant who took such pride in his skills began making mistakes at work. Simple math he could do in his sleep now tied his mind in knots. Lists and spreadsheets blurred together into a jumbled tangle beyond his capacity. The job he loved, which earned him praise and prestige for years, became a source of mounting frustration. I'll never forget the defeated look on Andrew's face when he emerged from his manager's office after weeks of embarrassing errors. "I've been put on probation, Elle. If I mess up one more report, I'm done." His voice shook with the effort not to break down. My heart splintered, but I kept my tone purposefully upbeat. "You'll get back on track, I know it. We can ask Dr. Ray about adjusting your medications, maybe more therapy or brain games at home." Andrew just stared right through me with clouded eyes, already drifting to another place I couldn't reach. In that moment, my rose-colored stubbornness finally cracked. I could pamper and reassure and reason away troubles all I wanted, but the man I loved was slipping away, one fragmented memory at a time. If I kept ignoring that reality, one day I might turn around and find him gone. I installed nanny cameras throughout our house the next morning, guilt gnawing my conscience. But I justified the deception. I had to know what was happening when I wasn't around. If I could identify what triggered Andrew's worst moments, perhaps I could remove those stressors and stabilize the savage disease. If only stabilization was what I found on those secret tapes. I will never forget the moment my entire world collapsed around me. Sitting alone at 3 a.m., bleary eyes fixed on the surveillance footage on my laptop, I watched my husband of 15 years kiss another woman with a passion I thought lost to his illness. In the arms of his supposed caregiver, the fog that had clouded his mind for so many agonizing months miraculously lifted. Gone were the confusion, the stilted conversations, and unreachable distance. The Andrew I watched bantering easily with Dr. Ray, confidence and humor intact, was the man I fell in love with decades ago. It was all a scam. Every medical test, every treatment, nothing more than an elaborate ruse to conceal Andrew's betrayal. While I had weepily poured my heart out to support groups, encouraged Andrew through each fumbled workplace failure, and desperately sought solutions from any specialist I could reach, my husband was busy embezzling our hard-earned savings to fund a new life with his mistress. Rage, grief, and nausea roiled inside me as I watched them make love in our bed. The same bed where I had tenderly cradled Andrew through agonizing migraines and terrifying night terrors. When I could take no more, I paused the video and stumbled numbly from my makeshift surveillance room, my world fracturing with every step. I do not know how I endured the next weeks maintaining normalcy while planning my next steps. Every word I exchanged with Andrew scraped my soul raw, but I hid my swirling hurt and fury behind a mask of wifely concern. Of all the pain Andrew had inflicted, I was most aggrieved at having my good faith so exploited. My trust in my life partner had been my unshakable foundation, and now that bedrock was poisoned sand beneath my feet. There remained one beacon of hope amidst the ruin: Andrew's parents, Frank and Beverly. Surely they would be as shocked and outraged as I was at their son's treachery. Although our contact had lapsed somewhat since Andrew's supposed illness dominated our lives, I decided to approach them. If anyone could talk sense into Andrew now, it was them. Deep breaths filling my lungs, I steeled my courage and knocked firmly on the Carter family door. I will never forget the heartbroken look in Frank and Beverly's eyes as I revealed Andrew's betrayal. Shocked dismay twisted their faces as they watched the damning footage. Frank's barrel chest heaved in outrage and Bev's slender shoulders shook with sobs. But underlying their fury, I detected something even more disturbing: resignation. As if reading my thoughts, Frank turned to me with sadness etched on his craggy features. "We suspected something like this. Andrew came to us a few months ago, asking for money to cover some bad investments. It didn't feel right, but he's our only child, so we paid up. Hundreds of thousands gone to feed whatever fantasy life he's playing at," Beverly spat. Under her genteel manners, anger stirred. I reeled at this news. Our savings accounts had been slowly drained over the past year by Andrew's medical bills and therapies. Now I realized where the money truly went: to finance betrayal. Seeing my shock, Frank patted my shoulder with a heavy sigh. "We didn't want to worry you back when we still believed his illness was real, but even then, we started having doubts." He hesitated, shame weighing his words. "This just confirms what Bev and I have reluctantly suspected for a while. Something is terribly wrong with our son." A jagged laugh escaped my lips. "You can say that again. His illness was nothing but a manipulation to hide his affair and steal every cent he could." I took a deep breath to steady my outrage. "Well, the charade ends now. I'm filing for divorce first thing tomorrow morning." As I said the words I had agonized over for endless sleepless nights since the truth emerged, I felt a righteous surge of conviction. I would not live one more day under the shadow of lies. The full force of the law would teach Andrew you cannot build joy on a foundation of deceit without consequences. I strode into my lawyer's office with fire fueling my steps. The chilled professionalism that greeted me was a stark contrast to the hot emotion churning inside me. As I meticulously detailed the evidence exposing Andrew and Dr. Ray's elaborate ruse, my lawyer's eyebrows lifted in surprise. "Hidden camera footage without their consent? That's ethically questionable to introduce in a legal proceeding," he warned. I slammed my hand on his desk in frustration. Who cares about ethics when these parasites have been sucking away my hard-earned livelihood? That money is rightfully mine. Andrew owes me every cent he stole to finance his sordid double life." My vehemence seemed to startle the lawyer. He steepled his fingers thoughtfully before responding. "Be that as it may, we have to be extremely careful in how we pursue this, Eleanor. Tread delicately here." I suppressed a growl of outrage at his infuriating calmness. But before I could unleash a tirade, my cell phone buzzed. Glancing down in surprise, I saw it was Heather, Andrew's ex-girlfriend from college who I hadn't spoken to in years. We had bonded as friends after their amicable breakup, but lost touch once Andrew and I married. What could she want now? I stepped out to take the call, curiosity mingled with dread coursing through me. Without preamble, Heather announced, "I have information about Andrew's scheme with Dr. Ray. She was obsessed with him back when we dated. I think she wanted revenge when he dumped her for you." In the chaotic weeks that followed, I discovered how deception casts ripples stretching wider than I ever imagined. Like a hurricane churning relentless destruction, the ugly truth behind Andrew's betrayal left ruined lives and wrecked reputations in its wake. Neighbors I once exchanged pleasant small talk with now crossed the street to avoid eye contact. Acquaintances from the club suddenly had other plans when we were scheduled to dine together. It was clear that in the court of public opinion, I was now guilty alongside Andrew of obliterating our pristine family image with scandal and lies. Even at the publishing house where I had steadily advanced over 15 dedicated years, the office rumor mill spun with speculation behind my back. My polished executive colleagues still smiled to my face and spoke supportively about women sticking together. But awkward pauses and sideways glances betrayed their underlying judgment. No one so gullible could properly lead, could she? But while the community rushed to ice me out in the fallout, ironically, it was Andrew who remained by my side, professing his deep regret at how everything crumbled. As our lawyers volleyed bitterly over divorce details, my almost ex-husband transformed from two-faced stranger with Dr. Ray back into a man recognizable from our happier years. He claimed ending our marriage was the jarring wake-up call he desperately needed to see the damage his actions wrought. And that peppering of truth amidst so many lies oddly steadied me to press on. Through subpoenas and investigations, aided by Heather's insider knowledge about Dr. Ray's past with Andrew, the sordid plot to erase our life savings gradually emerged. The sting of Andrew's betrayal propelled me to pour everything into my work with a newfound vigor. If I couldn't rely on my personal life for satisfaction anymore, at least I could regain my professional purpose, the one realm where my capabilities couldn't be questioned in the fallout of scandal. I volunteered for every new project that arose, impressing my colleagues with my sudden ambition. Late nights, editing manuscripts, and early mornings fine-tuning proposals kept me blissfully distracted. The stories of others provided a welcome escape from replaying my own tormented memories, and through delving so relentlessly into my author's worlds, I uncovered a startling personal truth. I wanted to nurture the creation of art, not just polish the final products for consumption. The messy, honest, challenging ritual of transforming ideas onto paper called to me like a siren song. Soon inspiration struck my wandering mind, just as assuredly as Andrew's betrayal had upended it months before. A children's book to help young ones navigating the challenges of blended families after divorce, drawn from the rumbling emotions inside me, but shaped into a vessel that could speak to struggling kids who think they are alone in their turmoil. I began to write, tentatively at first, then with swelling passion, and curiously, in weaving my pain into this tapestry of hope, I began to heal anguish even lawyers couldn't salve. The story took on a life of its own. Soon there were 3 books tackling different dimensions of loss and renewal, my own phoenix rising from the ashes to let others know rebirth is possible. I tapped my pen anxiously against the thick manila folder of divorce papers laid out before me. In stiff legalese, these documents spelled the definitive end of my life with Andrew. All that remained was signing the settlement we had bitterly haggled over for months. My attorney was adamant that I agree, reminding me constantly of the ironclad infidelity clause Andrew had inexplicably conceded to. "It's an unheard-of concession for such an acrimonious split," she had marveled. Take the deal and run before he changes his mind." Yet something held me back from signing. Lingering doubts clouded my judgment whenever I remembered tender moments of the man I once loved so deeply. Was there truly no redemption possible from the ashes of betrayal? An insistent knock interrupted my brooding. I opened the door to find Andrew, shoulders slumped and eyes bloodshot, my heart constricted at his haggard appearance. The sleek clothes and polished swagger long gone, here stood the humble boy I had fallen for decades ago despite his flaws. "Ella, can we talk?" Andrew's voice cracked with emotion. "I know I surrendered any right to your time long ago, but I need to explain." My breath caught at the raw pain in his words. In my quest to rebuild without him, had I denied any path to closure between us? Wordlessly stepping aside, I steeled myself and let him enter the home we had once shared. After tense small talk as we sat across from each other once more, I handed him the papers. "Sign them, Andrew. Isn't this what you wanted in destroying us?" My voice shook despite my resolve. At the sight of our would-be divorce decrees, Andrew broke down into heaving sobs. "God, no, Elle. I never wanted this. I just lost my way so terribly. Please believe how sorry I am." Andrew's unexpected apology thawed the icy resolve I had clung to these painful months since his betrayal came to light. His raw remorse pierced through barriers I had erected to steel my heart against further wounds. I found myself questioning if this man before me, finally stripped of his layers of deceit, was worth believing in once more. As if sensing my wavering, Andrew gently took my hand. "You deserve the full truth, Elle. No more lies between us." He took a shuddering breath before continuing. "I discovered something about my family right before this madness started. My father, he isn't actually Frank. Mom had an affair years ago that none of them ever told me about. I think subconsciously it derailed me when I found out. I reeled in shock. What did this long-buried secret have to do with Andrew's intricate web of deception? Suddenly, so many disjointed pieces clicked into alignment. Frank and Beverly's resigned reactions to Andrew's lies, their financial support despite his betrayal. This nugget of secrecy was the missing puzzle piece to understanding the unraveling of everything. My fury over how duplicitously Andrew upended our lives still simmered steadily, yet gazing into his anguished eyes, I grasped the revelation also churned up his world. If I refused even an attempt at reconciliation, wouldn't I be as guilty of clinging to anger instead of seeking the full truth? "Tell me everything, Andrew," I finally said, my voice barely a whisper. "No more half-truths from here out. I can't promise forgiveness yet, but I want to try and understand." I gazed out at the crashing ocean waves, feeling at peace for the first time in years. The salty breeze carried echoes of laughter down the beach, where Frank and Beverly chased their tiny granddaughter along the shoreline. My heart swelled at their joyful embrace of new beginnings after weathering such storms. The legal battle against Andrew and Dr. Ray had finally ended last month. Hard-won justice was served, both financially and reputationally. Yet, rather than bitterness at what I lost, I marveled that renewal sprouted even amid the wreckage of dreams, my thriving career as an author helping children conquer adversity, precious friendships tested through fire, and a second chance to build family where once my sterile home echoed empty promises. A familiar footstep approached from behind. Andrew's once handsome features now permanent, etched by regret, yet his eyes shone clear for the first time in our long history. He followed my gaze to his elated parents reunited with the grandchild they feared forever lost by their son's misdeeds. "I'm so grateful every day that you gave me an opportunity to regain even a small role in their life again, Ella," Andrew said softly. "Despite everything, your compassion paved the road back for all of us." I swallowed hard past the lump in my throat. The choice to open my door to reconciliation had nearly broken me all over again these past years. Yet as I watched little Caroline squeal joyfully in her grandparents' arms up ahead, I knew in my soul each tearful late-night reckoning with Andrew was worth it. A broken family made whole once more. Healing still left its scars, but hope dawned fresh every morning regardless. My purpose now was tending the green shoots fighting through the rubble, my own long-delayed motherhood, nurturing broken ties between lovers, parents, and children. For no matter what the future held, the present moment was a gift.